Far beyond Earth, beyond thousands of stars and planets, there was a place that every race in the galaxy knew. The Galactic Council. It was the center of power, the center of law, the place where the strongest races made decisions for everyone else. The council chamber was massive. It was built inside a giant station floating near the center of the galaxy. The station was larger than cities and brighter than moons. Inside the chamber, thousands of seats rose high into the darkness like giant steps. Representatives from hundreds of alien worlds sat in silence. Some were covered in scales. Some had glowing eyes. Some had metal skin. Others looked like shadows wearing armor. Blue lights moved across the walls like rivers of energy. Giant stars could be seen outside the transparent ceiling. Usually, the chamber was loud. Usually, races argued and shouted. But today was different. Today, everyone was waiting, because Earth had called an emergency meeting. And humans almost never did that. Many races looked confused. Others looked bored. Some even looked annoyed. Near the center platform sat a tall reptilian leader from the Zekran Empire. He leaned back in his seat and crossed his arms. "What do humans want now?" he asked. A bird-like alien beside him laughed. Maybe they discovered another small war near their borders. Several nearby races laughed quietly. Humans were respected for many things. They were clever. They adapted quickly. They were good engineers. But they were not seen as powerful. Not compared to the giant empires of the galaxy. Not compared to races that had ruled stars for thousands of years. To many council members, humanity was still young. Still learning. Still small. Suddenly, lights around the room became dim. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Representative of Earth has arrived." The room became quiet. A human stepped onto the center platform. He wore a dark uniform with silver lines across the shoulders. His face showed no fear, no anger, no emotion. He stood still and looked around at thousands of watching eyes. The human ambassador slowly spoke. "The people of Earth thank the Council for answering this emergency call." Silence. Everyone waited. Then a council member spoke. "State your reason." The human looked toward the giant stars outside. Then he said words that immediately changed the room. "Human deep space scanners have detected unknown movement in dark regions beyond explored space." The room stayed silent. The human continued. "We believe a major threat is approaching the galaxy." Some aliens looked at each other. Others simply stared. The ambassador touched a control panel. A hologram appeared above him. Suddenly, stars filled the air. Then parts of the map became dark. Entire areas disappeared. Systems vanished from the map. Thousands of stars. Gone. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The human pointed toward the dark spaces. 3 months ago, these systems existed. The room grew quiet. Now they do not. A large insect-like representative stood up. "What destroyed them?" The human slowly looked toward him. "We do not know." Whispers spread across the room. The ambassador continued. "No signals. No survivors. No battle remains. No energy readings. Only emptiness." The room was becoming uncomfortable. Even the strongest races looked serious now. Then the human said something worse. "It is moving toward us." For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then suddenly, laughter. A loud laugh exploded from the upper levels. Then another. And another. Soon the entire chamber was filled with noise. The reptilian leader laughed loudly. "You called the whole council for ghost stories?" Another race joined. "Empty stars? Is humanity afraid of shadows now?" Even more laughter spread. The human ambassador stood perfectly still. He did not react. The bird-like alien wiped tears from his eyes. "This is your emergency warning?" Others joined him. "You interrupted council business for this?" Humans panic too easily. Maybe Earth needs stronger scanners. Laughter filled the chamber again. Some representatives were hitting their desks while laughing. Others were shaking their heads. But something strange happened. The human ambassador did not look embarrassed. He did not look angry. Instead, He looked disappointed. Very slowly, he raised his hand. The room became quieter. Then he spoke again. "We are not warning you about the unknown threat." Silence. Confused faces looked down at him. The reptilian leader stopped smiling. The human continued. "We are warning you about what humanity will do if it reaches Earth." Complete silence. No one moved. No one understood. Then suddenly, the chamber exploded with even louder laughter than before. "What does that mean? Humanity will save us? Humanity will fight gods?" The reptilian leader leaned forward with a smile. "And what exactly will humans do?" The human looked directly into his eyes. For a few seconds, he said nothing. Then he answered quietly, "We hope you never find out." Silence fell for one brief moment. Something felt wrong. Something about his voice. Something about his eyes. But then the laughter returned again. The meeting ended minutes later. Council members walked away shaking their heads. Many still laughed while leaving. Many called humanity foolish. Others called the warning a waste of time. No one believed Earth. No one. Far away from the chamber, inside a small hidden room, another human officer stood alone. He watched the meeting on a dark screen. His face was serious. Very slowly, he touched a small device. A red light appeared. Then he spoke 4 quiet words. "Void protocol, begin release preparation." Suddenly, somewhere deep beneath Earth, ancient machines woke up, and alarms began to ring. The Galactic Council meeting ended, and life across the galaxy quickly returned to normal. Trade ships moved between systems. Mining stations continued collecting resources from dead planets. Space travelers crossed star routes every hour. Music, entertainment, and news channels spread across thousands of worlds. To almost everyone, Earth's warning had already become a joke. News networks replayed clips from the council meeting. The title appeared across giant screens. "Humans afraid of invisible monsters?" Alien hosts laughed while talking about it. One famous commentator from the Norex system smiled at the camera. "Human imagination is becoming stronger every year." People watching across many worlds laughed. Some even created funny videos about humans hiding under tables while dark space monsters chased them. But on Earth, nobody was laughing. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, thousands of meters below the surface, hidden doors slowly opened. The doors were larger than mountains. Ancient metal walls moved with low shaking sounds. Dust that had not moved for years floated into the air. Red emergency lights turned on one after another. Warning alarms echoed through endless underground halls. Human workers suddenly looked up from their stations. Computer screens changed color. A message appeared everywhere. "Void protocol, level 1 activated." Inside one control room, military officers quickly entered. No one spoke. No one asked questions. Everyone already knew the meaning. A gray-haired commander walked toward the center table. His face looked calm, but his eyes showed worry. He stared at the giant holographic map floating above them. Dark areas were spreading slowly across space. One younger officer looked nervous. "Sir, are we really activating it?" The commander remained silent for several seconds. Then he answered quietly, "We are preparing, but not releasing." The young officer swallowed slowly. Even after years of training, hearing those words felt heavy. Preparing was already dangerous enough, because only a few humans in history knew the truth. Only a few knew humanity's biggest secret. Far below them, far below the oceans, far below cities and mountains, something impossible was sleeping. Something hidden from the galaxy for hundreds of years. The commander looked at the hologram again. Then memories returned. The story began almost 300 years earlier. Back then, humanity was still exploring nearby regions of space. Human ships traveled farther every year. New systems were discovered. New planets were mapped. Everything looked normal, until explorers found something strange. A region of space beyond known borders. A place with no signals. No stars. No radiation. Nothing. Scientists called it the silent zone. At first, nobody thought much about it. Empty regions existed everywhere. So humanity sent exploration ships. The first ship entered. No response came back. Days passed. Weeks passed. Nothing. The ship disappeared. Humans thought it was an accident. So they sent another ship. Then another. Then another. All disappeared. Still no signals. Still no wreckage. Still nothing. Many wanted to stop the missions. But curiosity had always been part of humanity. Humans wanted answers. Finally, they built a larger ship. The most advanced ship of that time. Its name was Odyssey 1. It carried the best scientists and explorers on Earth. Everyone watched as the ship entered the silent zone. Then communication ended. Days passed. Weeks passed. Months passed. Families believed the crew was dead. Humanity slowly accepted the loss. Then 6 months later, something appeared near Earth's outer system. It was Odyssey 1. But something was wrong. Very wrong. Rescue teams rushed toward it. The ship looked damaged. Parts of its metal surface were twisted strangely. Some sections looked melted. Others looked frozen. Lights inside flickered slowly. No movement could be seen. When rescue crews entered, silence filled the ship. Every crew member was dead. No injuries. No blood. No battle damage. They simply sat in their seats. Frozen expressions covered their faces. Eyes wide open. Faces filled with terror. Nobody understood what happened. Then scientists found the ship's data core. At first they thought it was broken. The information inside made no sense. Unknown symbols. Impossible mathematics. Strange energy patterns. Scientists worked for years trying to understand it. Years became decades. Decades became centuries. Slowly they realized something terrifying. The ship had not returned alone. It had brought something back. Not a creature. Not a weapon. Knowledge. Knowledge that humans were never supposed to see. Knowledge connected to something called the void. Suddenly the command room alarms pulled everyone back to the present. Warning lights flashed red. An officer quickly looked at his screen. His eyes widened. "Sir." The commander turned. "What is it?" The officer looked pale. "The dark zones." His hands slightly shook. "They're moving faster now." The room became silent. Everyone looked toward the hologram. Slowly, very slowly, the black areas across the map expanded. Then another star system disappeared. No explosion. No warning. No signal. It simply vanished. The commander stared at the screen. Then he whispered quietly, "They're here." Far below Earth, thousands of giant machines suddenly woke up. And for the first time in 200 years, something deep in the darkness opened its eyes. Far away from Earth, near the outer borders of known space, there was a peaceful star system called Nerex 7. It was not rich. It was not powerful. But it was important. Millions of beings lived there. Trade ships passed through its routes every day. Mining stations floated around nearby moons, and large cities covered its planets. Life there was normal. Children played in schools. Cargo ships landed at stations. Families walked through markets under artificial skies. Nobody knew danger was coming. Nobody saw it. Nobody heard it. 3 days after the Galactic Council laughed at Earth's warning, the first strange event happened. A communication station near the edge of the system suddenly stopped sending signals. Workers inside the station tried restarting equipment. Nothing happened. They checked power systems. Everything looked normal. Then one worker looked out the window. His face slowly changed. "Wait." Others turned toward him. Outside, space looked wrong. Very wrong. At first, nobody understood. Then fear slowly entered the room. The stars. Some stars were disappearing. Not exploding. Not moving. Simply disappearing. One by one. Like invisible hands were turning lights off across the sky. A woman slowly stepped backward. "What is happening?" No one answered. Because nobody knew. Suddenly every screen inside the station filled with static. Lights flickered. Alarms started ringing. Emergency systems activated. Then everything went dark. Complete darkness. No lights. No stars. Nothing. For hours later, nearby systems noticed something strange. No signals were coming from Narex 7. No ships entered or left. No communication. Nothing. At first, people believed there was a technical problem. Then rescue ships were sent. 5 large ships entered the system. Everyone aboard expected damaged stations. Maybe an accident. Maybe pirates. Maybe war. But as they arrived, silence greeted them. The rescue captain stared through the front window. His mouth slowly opened. The entire bridge became quiet. Narex 7 was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. The planets still existed. The stations still floated. The cities still stood. But there was nobody. No ships. No people. No signals. No movement. Nothing. The rescue team entered one station. The doors opened normally. Lights worked. Food still sat on tables. Screens were still active. Half-finished drinks rested beside computers. It looked like people had simply stood up and vanished. A cup slowly rolled across the floor. The sound echoed through empty halls. One soldier whispered, "Where did everyone go?" Nobody answered. Fear spread across every face. They searched for survivors. Hours passed. Nothing. Then they discovered something worse. One scientist looked at his scanner. His hands started shaking. No. Another person looked over. What happened? The scientist stared at the screen. The stars. What about them? His breathing became faster. The stars near the outer system. He looked up slowly. They're disappearing. Everyone froze. Because they remembered Earth's warning. News reached the Galactic Council only hours later. Emergency meetings started immediately. The same chamber that once laughed at humanity was now completely silent. Large holograms floated above the center platform. Images from Narex 7 appeared. Empty streets. Silent stations. Abandoned homes. The council members stared without speaking. No jokes. No laughter. No smiles. The reptilian leader who mocked Earth earlier looked nervous. This is impossible. The bird-like representative looked down. No weapons did this. Another leader stood up. Could humans be responsible? Immediately voices filled the chamber. Some agreed. Some disagreed. Then another council member shouted, "No. Humans warned us." Silence returned. Slowly everyone looked toward Earth's empty seat. For the first time, fear entered the room. Back on Earth, deep inside the hidden underground command center, military officers watched everything. No one looked surprised. No one looked shocked. Because they already knew. The gray-haired commander stood quietly. A giant map floated before him. Dark areas continued spreading. System after system. Closer, closer, closer. An officer ran toward him. "Sir." The commander turned. "The council is contacting Earth." The commander remained silent. "What do they want?" The officer looked down at his screen. His voice became quiet. "They're asking if humanity knows what this is." The room became silent. The commander looked at the spreading darkness. Then he looked toward a locked door at the end of the room. A door that had never opened during his entire career. Slowly he spoke. "Ignore the message." The officer looked surprised. "Sir?" The commander stared at the door. They had their warning. Silence filled the room. Then suddenly, "Warning. Sealed chamber activation detected." Everyone turned. Red lights began flashing everywhere. The locked door slowly started opening. Metal shook beneath their feet. Dust fell from the ceiling. Deep inside the darkness beyond the door, something massive moved. Something ancient. Something that had slept for centuries. Then a voice came from the darkness. A voice that was not human. Void interface, online. And every person in the room suddenly felt cold. Inside the underground command center beneath Earth, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The red emergency lights continued flashing across the walls. The giant metal door at the end of the room had opened only a few meters, but cold air slowly flowed from the darkness inside. It was strange. Very strange. Because there should not have been cold air. The chamber beyond the door was completely sealed. No outside atmosphere could enter. No wind should exist there. Yet every person in the room felt it. A cold feeling moved across their skin. Some officers looked nervous. Others looked toward the commander. The gray-haired commander stared into the darkness beyond the door. His face remained calm, but his hands slowly closed into fists. After many years, after hundreds of years, the chamber had finally opened. Then footsteps echoed from the darkness. Clang, clang, clang. The sound was slow and heavy. Every soldier immediately raised weapons. The room became completely silent. Then a figure slowly walked forward. At first nobody understood what they were seeing. It looked human, but also not human. Its body was covered in dark metal that seemed alive. Blue energy moved under the surface like rivers beneath ice. Its eyes glowed softly. Its movements were perfectly smooth. Too smooth. Not like a machine. Not like a person. Something in between. One nervous officer whispered, "What is that?" Nobody answered. The figure stopped beneath the red lights. Then it looked toward the commander. For several seconds, silence remained. Then it spoke. Void Interface Unit 7 online. Its voice was calm, cold, without emotion, awaiting command authorization. Several younger officers looked confused. One slowly stepped closer. "Sir, what exactly is that?" The commander looked at the figure. Then he answered quietly. 200 years ago, humanity discovered knowledge inside Odyssey 1. Silence. The Void Fleet was not only ships. He looked toward the machine. It also created them. Nobody spoke. The officers stared at the figure. The thing stared back without blinking. Suddenly another alarm echoed across the room. Galactic border system lost. Everyone turned toward the main screen. A new star system disappeared. Then another. Then another. The darkness on the map was moving faster now. Much faster. It no longer looked random. Now it looked alive. An officer quickly ran toward the commander. His face had turned pale. "Sir, what happened?" The council sent emergency broadcasts. The commander looked at him. "They're requesting military help." Another screen appeared. Council members filled the display. The same leaders who laughed days earlier now looked frightened. The reptilian leader spoke first. His voice was shaking. "Earth, we were wrong." Silence filled the room. "We have lost 12 systems." Another council member stepped forward. "Our fleets cannot find the enemy." Another voice joined. "Our weapons hit nothing. We don't even know what we're fighting. We need help." The commander stared silently. Days earlier these same people laughed. Days earlier they mocked Earth. Now fear had replaced their pride. The reptilian leader lowered his head slightly. "Please." The room became quiet. The commander looked down for several seconds. Then he finally spoke. "Send all system coordinates." The council members looked surprised. "You'll help us?" The commander looked toward the dark chamber. Then he answered, "We'll try." The communication ended. Silence returned. Then everyone looked toward him. One officer swallowed slowly. "Sir, are we doing it?" The commander looked toward Void Interface Unit 7. For a few moments nobody moved. Then he spoke. "Open Stage 1 release." Instantly every screen changed. Warning symbols appeared across the room. Void Fleet preparation active. Deep beneath Earth, ancient machines started moving. Across the moon, hidden structures suddenly opened. Across Mars, giant underground doors separated. Near Jupiter's moons, massive stations woke from sleep. All across human space, forgotten places became active. Places hidden for centuries. Places no alien race had ever seen. Then the cameras connected. The command room screens showed live images. And everyone froze. Darkness. Only darkness. At first officers thought cameras had failed. Then something moved. Slowly, very slowly, gigantic shapes began rising from the blackness. Ships. Massive ships. Ships larger than cities. Ships with no visible weapons. No windows. No engines. Only black surfaces that seemed to absorb light itself. The ships looked wrong. Looking directly at them made some officers uncomfortable. Their eyes felt strange. One younger soldier suddenly looked away. "I don't like this." Another whispered, "It feels like they're staring back." Thousands of giant ships slowly rose from endless underground structures. Then millions of blue symbols appeared across their surfaces. The symbols were unknown. No human language matched them. Even after 200 years, scientists still could not understand them. The Void interface looked toward the commander. Void fleet standing by, awaiting release authorization. The commander's face became serious. His eyes moved toward the spreading darkness on the galaxy map. Another system disappeared. Then another. Closer to Earth. Closer every second. Then suddenly, the sensors detected something impossible. One officer jumped from his chair. "Sir." The commander looked up. "What now?" The officer's face had gone completely white. "The unknown objects." His voice shook. "They just entered human space." Silence filled the room. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The commander slowly looked toward the Void interface. Then he gave the order humanity feared most. "Release the Void fleet." For 1 second, nothing happened. Then somewhere in deep space, space itself cracked open. Silence filled the underground command center beneath Earth. No one moved. No one spoke. Every eye was fixed on the giant screens. For a few seconds after the commander gave the order, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. Then space itself began changing. Far beyond Earth's outer defense systems, black lines suddenly appeared in empty space. At first, they looked like small cracks on glass. Thin. Almost invisible. One officer leaned closer. "What is that?" Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. The cracks slowly grew larger. Longer. Wider. Then the stars around them began bending. Light itself twisted. Space folded inward. Even cameras started shaking. Warning messages appeared across every monitor. Gravity failure detected. Unknown energy detected. Reality distortion detected. The young officer looked terrified. Reality distortion? His voice almost broke. How is that possible? The commander remained silent. Slowly, the black cracks expanded across space. Something came out. The first ship appeared. No engines. No sound. No light. Only darkness. The ship moved forward slowly, like it was floating through water. Then another ship emerged. Then another. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Huge black ships came out from inside the cracks in reality itself. The room became silent. Even people who had trained for years forgot to breathe. Nobody had seen the full Void fleet before. Not even them. The ships looked alive. Dark surfaces moved slowly like liquid shadows. Blue symbols glowed across the hulls. The symbols changed every second. Nobody understood their meaning. One officer whispered, "My God." The commander looked at the display. Even after all his years, his eyes showed shock. The fleet continued appearing. Thousands upon thousands of ships. An endless ocean of darkness. Then suddenly another alarm sounded. Unknown contact approaching. Everyone turned. The enemy had arrived. But nobody expected what they saw. The room became completely still. The enemy ships looked wrong. Very wrong. Some were shaped like circles. Others looked broken. Some looked twisted, as if reality itself had bent around them. And some had shapes that hurt the eyes. Looking directly at them felt strange. Like the mind refused to understand what it was seeing. One officer suddenly grabbed his head. Another looked away. Blood slowly dripped from a man's nose. "What are those things?" someone whispered. No answer came. Because nobody knew. Then the Void interface spoke. Threat identified. Probability of survival without Void fleet, 0%. The room felt colder. On the screen, the unknown enemy moved closer. Millions of dark objects crossed into human space. No messages. No signals. No warning. Only silence. Then the enemy attacked. Without movement, without visible weapons, giant waves of black energy exploded forward. Entire areas of space disappeared. Stars vanished instantly. Several nearby defense stations simply stopped existing. Not destroyed. Gone. One officer shouted. They just erased the stations. Shock spread across the room. The attack moved toward the Void Fleet. Everyone stared. Then something impossible happened. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The black wave reached the void ships. And disappeared. Not blocked. Not reflected. Not absorbed. It simply vanished. Like it never existed. Silence. Complete silence. The commander slowly narrowed his eyes. What happened? The void interface answered immediately. Threat removed. People looked confused. Removed? That was all? The enemy attacked again. This time thousands of dark waves rushed toward the fleet. Space shook violently. Nearby stars bent under pressure. Reality itself looked unstable. Then the void fleet moved. Not fast. Not dramatically. The ships simply shifted slightly. Blue symbols across their surfaces started glowing brighter. Then darkness spread from the ships. Not smoke. Not energy. Darkness itself. It moved quietly through space, slowly touching the enemy ships. And when it touched them, they vanished. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Vanished. One moment they existed. The next moment they did not. The room became silent again. People stared with wide eyes. Millions of enemy ships disappeared. Then billions. Entire sections of the invading force vanished in seconds. The young officer looked terrified. They aren't fighting. Nobody answered him. Because he was right. The Void Fleet was not fighting. It was simply removing things. Like deleting unwanted words from a screen. Even worse. The Void ship still had not fired weapons. The commander slowly looked toward the Void interface. What exactly are they doing? For the first time, the machine paused. Then it answered. Correction. Weapons not active. Every face turned pale. The commander stared at it. What? Current action classified as environmental adjustment. Silence. No one understood. Then understanding slowly reached them. The Void Fleet was not using weapons. This was normal operation. Fear moved through the room. Then another officer looked at the screen. His face suddenly lost all color. Sir. The commander turned. What now? The officer pointed toward fleet readings. His hand shook badly. Ship count. Everyone looked. Then their eyes widened. Displayed on the screen. Active void ships, 4,000. Silence. The commander frowned. No, that's impossible. Another officer checked. Then another. Their faces turned white. Because hidden beneath the active number, another line appeared. Total void fleet, 2,400,000. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because humanity had not released its army. Humanity had released less than 1%. And outside, the darkness continued moving. The battle was over. But nobody celebrated. Across thousands of systems, billions of eyes stared at screens in complete silence. The enemy was gone. Every strange ship, every dark object, every impossible shape that entered human space had disappeared. There were no explosions. No burning wreckage. No victory speeches. Nothing. Only empty space remained. The stars slowly returned to normal. Light stopped bending. Reality became stable again. But fear stayed. Because everyone had seen it. Everyone had watched what humanity released. And nobody understood it. Far across the galaxy, news stations stopped playing music. Reporters stopped speaking. Some simply stared into cameras. One alien reporter sat frozen for several seconds before finally whispering, "Humanity saved us." His voice became quieter. But what exactly are humans? Questions spread everywhere. Trade stations became silent. Military worlds stopped training exercises. Even powerful empires canceled fleet operations. No one cared about borders anymore. No one cared about politics. Because one thought now lived inside every mind. What if humanity ever became our enemy? 3 days later, Another emergency council meeting was called. But this meeting felt different. Very different. The giant chamber looked exactly the same. The walls still glowed blue. Stars still shined above the transparent ceiling. Thousands of representatives still sat in their seats. But the atmosphere had changed. No one laughed. No one talked loudly. No one smiled. The same chamber that once mocked Earth now felt cold and heavy. Many representatives looked nervous. Others looked down quietly. Some avoided looking toward Earth's empty platform. Then a voice echoed across the chamber. "Representative of Earth has arrived." Instantly the room became silent. Every eye turned toward the center. The human ambassador walked onto the platform again. He wore the same dark uniform. The same silver lines. The same calm face. Nothing about him had changed. But now the room looked at him differently. Before they saw a young race. Before they saw weak humans. Now, they saw something unknown. The ambassador looked around the chamber. Nobody laughed. Nobody moved. The reptilian leader slowly stood up. Days earlier he had laughed louder than anyone. Now his expression looked completely different. He lowered his head slightly. "We owe humanity an apology." Silence filled the room. The bird-like representative stood up next. "We did not listen." Another leader stood. "We mocked your warning." Then another stood. Then another. Soon representatives across the chamber stood in silence. The human ambassador watched them quietly. No emotion appeared on his face. After several seconds, he finally spoke. "We did not come for apologies." Silence. "We came for cooperation." Confused faces looked at him. The reptilian leader frowned slightly. "Cooperation?" The ambassador nodded. Then he touched the control panel. A hologram appeared. Galaxy maps filled the room. Thousands of stars glowed across the display. Then everyone noticed something strange. Some regions were missing. Dark, empty areas remained. Murmurs spread immediately. The ambassador looked toward them. "The enemy attack has ended." He paused. "But not completely." Silence returned. Many representatives stared. "What does that mean?" someone asked. The ambassador slowly looked up. Then he answered, "The enemy was only the front line." For a moment nobody reacted. Then fear exploded across the room. "What? That's impossible. There are more." Voices filled the chamber. Shock spread everywhere. The ambassador raised his hand. Silence returned immediately. "Our scanners found something before the battle ended." The hologram zoomed outward. Far beyond known space. Far beyond explored regions. Far beyond the edge of the galaxy. Everyone stared. Dark objects slowly appeared. Then more. Then thousands. Then millions. The room became cold. Nobody breathed. Because these signals looked exactly like the enemy ships. But there were far more. Far more. The bird-like representative whispered, "No." The human ambassador looked toward them. "We warned you once." He paused. "You laughed." The room remained silent. Then he continued, "The next threat may be larger." His eyes slowly moved across the chamber. "So this time," he leaned slightly forward. "Listen carefully." Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because they finally understood something terrifying. Humanity had never acted afraid during the invasion. Not once. Not during the warnings. Not during the battle. Not after the battle. Because humanity had not feared the enemy. Humanity had feared something else. Something much worse. Deep beneath Earth, hidden inside endless darkness, Void Interface Unit 7 stood alone inside the ancient chamber. Blue symbols moved slowly across its body. Suddenly its eyes glowed brighter. Then it turned toward the darkness behind it. Toward something enormous hidden far below. Something that even humans never fully understood. A quiet voice echoed from the shadows. A voice older than Earth itself. Void Fleet Stage 1 complete. Several seconds passed. Preparing Stage 2. And somewhere in the darkness, something opened its eyes.